those issues, along with my experience with other family members that helped me out and were very passionate about politics, they showed me how electoral justice can help. And this really started with when I joined the Senate at the Salt Lake Community College. During my time at the Senate, I was able to pass legislation that ended up $10,000 of one-time funding for sustainability efforts at the college. That really enforced to me that these electoral justice can work. It does work. And there are still battles to be fought. So why do we vote? And why do we not vote? Well, I want to talk about students for a second. Voterize, which is a Hope from Voterize, will be speaking later in this conference. But they did a national study, and it says that there's two big reasons why students don't vote. The first one is they don't know how. And the second, they don't think it matters. So I want to talk about a little bit about those. So when we think it doesn't matter, it's very easy to get disenfranchised with our system. I admit it, there are some times where we look at our problems and we think, oh man, we're never going to get past this. We are more divided than ever. But I would disagree with the notion that it doesn't matter. And the reason why is because it's about taking responsibility. You see, every one of us is a civic leader. We take responsibility within our communities. And this can be things such as mentioned earlier, it can be protesting. It can be working at a soup kitchen. It can be as little as taking the 15 minutes to write to your mayor about garbage pickup. But it matters because we need to take responsibility. It matters because people like me as a kid needed people like you. So please, I invite you to take responsibility. Even if you can't vote, then still learn about your community, learn about the issues. Because some of these issues, although voting might be the best thing ever, it might be the best solution, it's not the only solution. The second thing is they don't know how to vote. That's why students, the second reason why students don't vote is they don't know how to vote. And fortunately, we live in a time where the access to voting has increased immensely. We have things such as the Voterize tools that will walk you through it, vote.utah.gov, and many more things that'll even send you reminders on when to vote. So, for instance, the voting on off-year elections every 2 years, special elections, your local elections. Those are all very important. So even if you can't vote, go ahead and please introduce to somebody how to vote. So why vote? As I said, it's about taking responsibility. And it's about it's taking that responsibility, and it's about being the person that your community and you need. When I was a kid, I needed someone that would stand up for kids' right to have food security. And luckily, that battle was already fought and won. And today, I needed somebody that would stand up for healthcare and healthcare access. And as a grown man, it is now me. I'm going to stand up for that. For my brothers and sisters that, don't have the ability to vote, I need to stand up for them. I need to stand up for my neighbors. I need to stand up for my community members that don't have a voice. So when it comes to electoral justice, there is no sideline participants. We need everybody participating. I know it's hard. but we need to take the time to vote. We need to take the time to get educated. We need to take the time to talk to our friends, especially those that don't have a seat at the table, to make sure that they do. And although this election is, well, this election day is over, it's very much our country and our journey to further get to our ideals is far from over. Until from every election, from now until we're all gone, we will always be striving for our ideals. So we need people like you to strive for your ideals. So this election, although it's over, there's more to come. So make a plan. When's the next time you vote? Do you know who your mayor is? Write to him. Complain. That is one of the few times where being a complainer is being a good citizen. So that is what I invite you to do. Take responsibility for your community. Talk to your friends. Reach compromise. And be the person you needed when you were younger, and be the person you'll need tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Austin. Does anyone in the comments have a question for Austin? There's some people welcoming each other. Someone's pumped. Thanks, Ayana. Folks are glad to be here. We're happy you're here as well. Nick said, thank you for being so vulnerable, Austin. So thank you. And also, like I said, so feel free to put some questions in the comments as we go through. As presenters speak, we can go through it. Yes, dissent is patriotic. Nice. Thank you, Landra. Heather says, thank you. Asma Hassan also says, thank you, Austin. Great. Well, we can go in, so feel free to put questions in as they come up. But for our next speaker, we're going to have Maria Hernandez, who is a screener and a promoter at the University of Utah for the Wellness Bus. And they are a dedicated community health worker with their best quality being empathy. And the civic pathway they're going to be discussing today is essential services. And then Maria will also be having Ben next to her. We're talking to translate. So I'll have Maria and Ben hop on if they're here.
¿Me escuchas? Estoy aquí en la otra computadora. ¿Ahora
Sí,
me escuchas?
Bueno,
entonces es la computadora la que no respondía.
Oh, ok, está bien.
Sí, pero yo puedo empezar, no hay problema. Si tú quieres.
Sí, si quieres, Ben no está aquí. Ya se fue de su casa.
Porque Ben nunca vino.
Oh, ok, pues sí.
Bueno, cuando me digas cuando puedo empezar.
Sí, estás bien, si quieres empezar ahorita.
Bueno, mi nombre es María Hernández. Primero, buenas tardes a todos. Soy un trabajador de la salud o un promotor de la salud de la comunidad o community health worker. Trabajo en el equipo multidisciplinario de salud del Wellness Bus, que es un programa de la Universidad de Utah, junto con con Larry S. Miller y la señora Gail Miller. Es un autobús que va a las diferentes comunidades y ya les voy a explicar un poco acerca de nuestra misión. Es muy importante hablar acerca de lo que es un promotor de salud porque muchas personas oyen este concepto y, bueno, se familiarizan con un trabajador social, se familiarizan con otros conceptos, pero sí es bueno aclarar. Un promotor de la salud o community health worker es un miembro de la comunidad que con o sin compensación es un enlace que actúa como mediador cultural entre la comunidad y los servicios de salud sociales.
¿Me puedes dar tiempo para translate? Sí. Okay, gracias. So Maria is a promoter and a screener at the University of Utah Wellness Bus, like I had mentioned. They work in the community as well as working to advocate for their community. They are a community health screener and work really closely. So the Wellness Bus travels throughout in different spaces to provide this service to folks that is sort of free of cost. And then they're going to go into about what a promoter of like health is for them. And then I'll just go ahead and translate after that.
El promotor de la comunidad o community health worker también entiende a fondo la diversidad y la identidad étnica, el idioma, el nivel socioeconómico y las experiencias de vida de la comunidad a la que sirve. Y por eso es que una de las cualidades de un promotor de la salud debe ser la empatía, es ponerse en los zapatos de la persona a la que está ayudando o a la que está asistiendo. Aparte de eso, trabajo con el Wellness Bus, como les dije, es un programa de la Universidad de Utah que tiene un autobús o una unidad móvil que va a las diferentes comunidades, sobre todo aquellas comunidades que tienen bajos recursos y que no tienen acceso a la seguridad social.
¿Me puedes dar un momento? So Maria said that for her job as a community health worker, that they value diversity and especially the language. So being able to step into that space of different languages and getting just being identifying with your native language, as well as a big skill that she had mentioned was empathy, stepping into someone else's shoes and being able to communicate with them and have empathy as you communicate with someone in this space. And then she's going to go into a little bit more about the Wellness Bus, how it's a program, about the bus. And then, María, ¿me puedes dar tiempo para transducir como un cada vez que hablas como dos, más o menos?
Perfecto. Nuestra misión es reducir la recurrencia de enfermedades en nuestra comunidad y por eso es que actualmente el Wellness Bus está trabajando, haciendo las pruebas de COVID y dando la vacuna de la influenza a todas las personas sin costo alguno. Entonces vamos también a estas comunidades y ofrecemos estos servicios a bajo costo, sin costo.
Gracias, María. So they're talking about right now, currently during the COVID pandemic, that they're doing COVID tests, and then as the flu test is coming around, they're administering flu tests into communities that are sort of don't have access to that. So they're also traveling and making sure they're providing access to those tests.
Antes de la pandemia, y esperamos que después que ya tengamos la oportunidad de tener la seguridad que necesitamos para poder regresar a la comunidad con nuestros servicios. El Wellness Bus, como les comenté, va a las diferentes comunidades, pero el programa es un programa bastante amplio, es un programa prácticamente nuevo aquí en el estado de Utah. Y entonces nosotros lo que hacemos es la prevención de las enfermedades crónicas, específicamente de la diabetes. Y nuestra misión es eliminar la diabetes entre la comunidad en el estado de Utah.
Gracias, María. So Maria said before the COVID had hit, they were sort of doing their main goal for this program. It's sort of a new program, but their goal is to sort of prevent and sort of get rid of diabetes. So they do different tests at the Wellness Bus that are indicators of diabetes. And they're sort of frontline workers. They get all those tests and then work to get those results to the community. And then, so currently now with COVID, they're trying to find a way to still stay safe, but still provide for their communities. So thank you, Maria.
Los servicios que ofrecemos son las pruebas rápidas de glucosa aleatoria, también las pruebas de la 1C. Las personas no tienen que presentar ningún documento, las personas solamente tienen que ir al autobús. Tomamos la presión arterial, hacemos la medición de la presión arterial, hacemos la medición también del índice de masa corporal y hacemos la prueba de colesterol. Aparte de eso, tenemos un equipo multidisciplinario porque tenemos también educación para la salud. Está a cargo de personas que tienen una preparación para poder hacerlo. Educadores para la diabetes, nutricionistas, también tenemos un servicio dental en el autobús, que también los servicios son gratis. Pero actualmente no estamos haciendo extracciones ni nada de esos servicios que presta un dentista. Solamente hacemos la evaluación dental de las personas y los conectamos con los servicios de fácil acceso para ellos, porque trabajamos con personas que no tienen seguro médico y que no tienen acceso a la salud porque tienen bajos recursos.
Gracias, Maria. So Maria had talked about what services the Wellness Bus provides. So they talk about rapid testing. So that's A1C for diabetes, oral glucose levels, also blood pressure. So they do that really quickly, as well as BMI and cholesterol right on the bus. So folks, also this is a pretty good thing because they were talking about how there's no documents that are needed for this. And so they have to show up to the bus and ask for it, and then they help them immediately. There's no questions asked. And also, she also talked about how it's multidisciplinary. So there's different parts of the bus. So yes, they do the screening. However, they also provide educators, and they have dietitians on the bus that can support in other ways, as well as a dental evaluation. This is provided. It's just an eval. It's not really like a full dentist, but it's an evaluation to go get further testing, as well as something that she mentioned was this is a big resource for folks without insurance, as well as low resources in their area, and that they're trying to reach for those folks as like to increase accessibility to these resources.
Sí, es un servicio destinado a la comunidad indudablemente y con un gran alcance. Nosotros esperamos expandir estos servicios pronto para que la comunidad se sienta más asistida. Como lo más importante para nosotros es el individuo, la comunidad, y entender todos aquellos aspectos que les mencioné anteriormente y trabajar con ellos para ayudar, para empoderarlos. No solamente que nosotros hagamos, le demos la información o hagamos la prueba, sino para que el individuo también forme parte de ese aprendizaje que tuvo y que maneje sus problemas de salud.
Great. So thank you, Maria. So Maria talks about how their goal is to make the community feel more assisted. And it's about the community and the individual themselves to have more access and more resources for themselves as they continue to go through this path going forward. So thanks, Maria.
Nuestros clientes, desde el mismo momento que llegan al autobús, porque nosotros los llamamos clientes, no son pacientes, son nuestros clientes. Desde el momento que entran al autobús, reciben toda la información que necesitan. Los atendemos, somos bilingües, los atendemos en inglés y en español, particularmente mi idioma original es el español. Y bueno, en realidad soy la persona que atiende a las personas que hablan español y tenemos también personas que son bilingües. Yo también soy bilingüe, pero también, como soy la persona que habla el español, entonces me ponen en contacto con los clientes. Y ellos reciben la información desde el momento que entran, desde el momento que se les empiezan a hacer las pruebas. Y nosotros pues le creamos a estas personas saber que tienen un ambiente agradable, que no deben tener ningún temor, que pueden acudir a nosotros porque nosotros somos promotores de salud, no tenemos alguna otra intención cuando estamos prestando nuestros servicios. Ayudarlos en todo momento porque esa es nuestra misión. Bueno, y el autobús va a seguir trabajando. Lamentablemente ahorita pues tuvimos que suspender los servicios que regularmente prestamos por la pandemia, pero esperamos cuando todo esto se regularice, regresar a las comunidades y seguir eliminando todas aquellas situaciones que tienen las personas que no cuentan con recursos para poder ayudarles con todos sus problemas de salud, ayudarles a manejar sus problemas y sobre todo empoderarlos.
Gracias, Maria. Tanto, ¿verdad? Gracias, Maria. So to start with, Maria was talking about as soon as folks get on the bus, that all the information is provided up front, and that as soon as they get in, also they provide bilingual support. So it's English and Spanish, specifically Spanish with a lot of the folks that they work with, which is really helpful for folks to get into it. As well as she mentions that folks like the wellness bus wants to promote like promoting health, that folks should not be afraid and like that they want to help. And that's their main mission, and there's not going to be judgment or anything else involved. And their goal is to continue to eliminate, right, that lack of resources that are available for healthcare for communities that don't have access to it, as well as to empower communities to continue to do so. Y María, tenemos una pregunta que dice, ¿cómo podemos ayudar su misión? And so there's a question in the chat about asking María, how can we support or help their mission?
Bueno, nosotros pertenecemos a la Universidad de Utah y tenemos un equipo de trabajo bien sólido, como les dije, multidisciplinario. Hay una manager dentro del bus y tenemos nuestra jefe, que es la jefe del departamento. Yo los invito a que visiten la página de Facebook del Wellness Bus y también les invito a que nos visiten en nuestra página web www.wellnessbus.utah.edu y pueden allí recibir toda la información y el teléfono donde pueden llamar y comunicarse con nuestro jefe. ¿Me permiten un momentico porque alguien está tocando mi puerta?
Okay, so for Maria to answer that question, she said that they have sort of different folks, but there's main pages on online, so you can follow them on Facebook. They have a web page for the Wellness Bus, as well as a website online, which is just wellnessbus.edu, utah.edu, sorry, since it's tied to there. So then that's sort of how you can figure out some more and how to support in that way.
Una cosa muy importante que quiero agregar. Un buen promotor de salud tiene que amar su trabajo. Si no ama su trabajo, tiene que retirarse. Porque de eso se trata, de amar a nuestro prójimo y de ayudar a nuestro prójimo. Yo soy una enfermera retirada en mi país. Soy una enfermera registrada de Venezuela. Y todo el conocimiento que he adquirido durante mi vida profesional, la estoy aplicando para ayudar a las comunidades. Y bueno, y quiero que también pues la gente se sienta en confianza con nosotros porque tenemos amor a lo que hacemos. Y de ahí es donde nace la empatía, ¿no? De ponerse en los zapatos de la persona, del cliente, y ayudarle en todo sentido. Hacerle sentir a ellos que en nosotros tienen alguien que los va a ayudar, alguien que se identifica con ellos, porque somos miembros de la comunidad. Un promotor de salud es un miembro de la comunidad. No es alguien extraño, no es alguien que viene de fuera, no es un paracaidista, como decimos en Venezuela. Entonces, pues, nosotros lo hacemos con todo amor. Yo tengo pasión por lo que hago y amo, pues, el programa y me siento completamente satisfecha. Y a mi edad, pues, pienso que es lo mejor que he tenido en mi vida, porque me gusta trabajar con la comunidad. Me gusta todo aquello que Dios, todas esas bendiciones que Dios me dio, ponerlas al servicio de los demás.
Gracias, Maria. So one thing that Maria had mentioned was that you can't do this job without loving it. You have to love what you do. You wake up and you do it, and you have to love it. And Maria is a retired nurse, and they retired, but however, they had still this passion to help community, and so they came back and started working here at the community health worker at the Wellness Bus. And so they want to build trust and have that trust with community members as they continue to support them. And one big important thing about building trust was that building empathy, having empathy, that folks can step in, that you can step into or imagine stepping into their shoes and having that empathy while they share with you. And so that space is vulnerable, but it's trustworthy, and that folks can have someone to come to, and that someone is like, hey, I want to help you. And being that person for someone else in the community is really important for Maria, and that she still loves it and she loves to serve her community. So
muchas gracias a todos. Muchas gracias a todos por darme la oportunidad de hablar de lo que amo. Y bueno, le doy gracias a todos los miembros de la conferencia, a todos los principales, porque nos han permitido difundir esta información que es bien importante. Y bueno, es poco conocido porque el programa apenas tiene 3 años, pero yo pienso que en el futuro lo vamos a conocer más y más personas van a acercarse a este programa y más personas se van a conectar con nosotros.
Gracias, María. Una pregunta para usted. Y dice que cuando empezó el bus, pues me dijiste 3 años, pero si quieres poner más, está bien. Y también si no más trabaja en centro del U, de la U, o también en toda la ciudad de Salt Lake City.
Bueno, el autobús empezó exactamente el 15 de abril del 2018. Nosotros empezamos, pero en realidad realmente salió a la comunidad en el mes de mayo. Desde el mes de mayo estamos trabajando con la comunidad. Y trabajo directamente con el autobús. ¿Cuál fue la otra pregunta? Disculpa, la segunda.
Y nomás trabaja como cerca, entre del U, de la universidad, o también en total del Salt Lake City.
El autobús va a todas las localidades de la comunidad, porque hay estudios estadísticos donde la incidencia de la diabetes es mucho mayor. Pero el autobús ha expandido su servicio porque no solamente atendemos a las personas que tienen, a las que se quieren hacer las pruebas porque sospechan que tienen prediabetes, porque ahí es donde empezamos el control para evitar que tengan la diabetes. Y también personas que tienen hipertensión, porque tenemos todos los servicios para poder ayudarles.
Muchas gracias, Maria. So I'll translate a little bit for that. So Maria said that they started in May of 2018, actually serving folks. So it's been about 3 years now going on. And it goes everywhere for their services sort of provide for folks who are, again, limited access, as she said before, making sure they provide accessible healthcare. And then she wanted to say thank you for everyone being here, all the participants and folks who have helped let her speak here today, and that she's happy to be here. And that's what she said today. And then María, un poco de comentos para usted. Dijeron muchas gracias, María. Saludos, María, gracias. Muchas gracias, María. Y cosas así. Muchos saludos, María, todo así. Gracias, María, por estar aquí con nosotros. Y le voy a pasar para la otra persona. Muchas gracias, María.
Gracias a todos ustedes.
All right. Ray, it's your, I'll hand it over to Ray for the next person. Thank you.
Great. We did have a couple questions for Austin, so I'm going to read those off, and then he did answer them. Austin, if I have a question or comment for my elected official, how do I find their contact info? His answer to that is, and that was from Megan. His answer was, hey, Megan, Ballotpedia is a great resource to find your elected officials. Then there was another question. How do you think teachers should discuss voting without telling students their own preferences? Looking for his answer. Hold on. There it is. I believe that teachers' best role is to be a moderator of conversations, introduce those hard questions, although teachers and students both share the inherent right to freedom of speech and expression. Let's see. And I believe that was all the questions that we had for Austin. Yeah. Okay. Up next, we have Anissa Ali. Anissa is the vice president of the Muslim Student Association at SLIC. Are you at SLIC, Anissa, or the U? We didn't find out. At the U, thank you. Anissa is a first-generation student studying urban ecology. She has a passion for community involvement and has worked as an after-school prevention specialist for 4 years. She has also worked with United Way, Salt Lake, as a grassroots intern. The civic pathway she will be sharing is about systemic racism. Anissa.
Hello. Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. So my name is Anissa. I am a student at the University of Utah studying urban ecology. I am originally from, but nationality from Somalia. I have been in the U.S. Over 10 years now. First, we came to Utah, and then we moved to New York, and then for like 6 months, and then we went to Minnesota, stayed there for like a year. It's the most populated Somali place. It's actually, I think, yeah, it's the first one. The second one is Ohio. We tested out, and I think there was no place better than Utah, so we came back to Utah. I went to middle school here and also high school. I have been actually, yeah, my background still. I am the second oldest of 11 siblings. So I'm the first generation of students. I'm the only one that is currently attending at the U. My sister is going to be joining me soon. I have been working in community, in my community. First, I was, like I've been introduced as, worked with Promise after school program, worked with as a grassroots with United Way. And I've also worked with Asian Association as a after school program staff. So the first time I started working as an after school program staff, it was around October. So one of my first graders asked me if I was dressed as a ghost because I'm wearing a long jilbab. I laughed off and I said, I'm not. So I've worked there for like 3 years, and I hope they realized that I was not, this wasn't a costume. So no one asked me ever since, like the kids I was working with. Like, I liked how open-minded my colleagues were. Like whenever I needed to pray, that I would just go without further notice. I would just go pray for like 5 minutes and come back. And then actually, like everywhere I went to, I tried like telling my teachers, my professors, or like anyone at the time of the prayers, I would let them know I need to go and take my prayers, and they would say, what is it? And I would explain. I loved the chances that I was given to explain what my background was, like what my duties were. So there was a couple incidents that I felt that were that wasn't in my favor. One was one of my professors. I came late, and so I missed the explanation of the syllabus. And then I went to her at the end and said, can you tell me, since I missed a little bit, can you tell me how we were taking midterms in this class? And I was told that she, kind of spaced out a little bit. She said, we write English in this class. I don't know, she said, we write papers in this class. And then she looked at me and then looked down upon me and said, can you write in English? And then I was just taken off. I was like, yeah, I can write in English. And then so she left. And from there on, I kind of understood that she won't be in my favorites. Like, she would criticize my work extra hard. And then like my scores were like always look, and like probably sometimes were lowest out of the class. And I'm like, okay, this professor, like, she just hardly criticizing my work. And then another incident that I remember was when I was in 8th grade. I was walking home from school. A guy that had a truck, I was like walking on the sidewalk, and then it's just near me, he almost hit me, and he yelled out, "Terrorist!" And I looked, I was like, oh my, I was so scared. Like, as a kid, I almost cried too. And then he just drove off. And I was like, in that incident, like, who's the terrorist right there? You're scaring off a kid that's walking, literally just wearing a backpack, you can see. So that was a really scary incident. And like, I think the thing that has affected me, I think they were minimum compared to other people's experiences. I remember hearing a girl that had hijab on being stabbed, and what's currently happening in France, how 2 ladies were stabbed. And then I think those people were ignorant, and they probably don't even have a Muslim colleague or Muslim students nearby, or they're just probably standing off in like a different spacing. So they're not open to learning about other people. So the reason why I chose to work in after-school programs or to be with near the community were due to like, when I was little, I would always see a Muslim staff in my program, and I would like love it. I'm like, oh my God, like, now, thank God this person is here, because the students won't ask me what I'm wearing or anything like that. So, and then I'm like, okay, I wanted to be that kind of person where they're seeing me in a good position, so that when the news probably like always says something about Muslims, they're going to think, oh, we have Anisa as a staff. So an example, they won't believe what the news says. I've realized that like the students I'm working with right now, they're very open-minded, and it's due to the inclusion this community has. So the majority hatreds or unacceptance, it's coming from the people that are outside our groups. Like, they don't know, they only listen to what the news is saying. And the ones that are really acceptance are the ones that are in spaces like this. One time I remember I was experimenting the niqab. It's one that covers completely except your eyes. And then I was at the U, wore it for like 4 months. I took it off because the higher altitude over there wasn't nice. And I couldn't breathe every time I like would reach my classes. I'm like breathing so hard. But now we're all used to wearing masks. So So like I took it off because I couldn't deal with it. But I did not receive any hatred, although that's what I like about Utah. Utah is like they don't voice out, or they don't lash out their hatred on other people. They're just quiet. They quietly hit you. So there was this guy that like he was an older gentleman. He had a bike and like rode the bike next to me, and I got scared because like he just like zoomed in. And then I was like, oh my God, like freaked out, looked at him, and he's like, oh, don't be scared. And he told me a message that I loved. And he said, don't be scared. He said, what you're looking right now, you look beautiful. He said, don't let other people hate make you change who you are. And he said, you're accepted here. And he said, and then he asked me about what I'm studying and things. I'm like, oh my God, amazing. Like I wasn't even expecting that. And then a couple of times at the U, we have shuttles. There was another Caucasian older gentleman. He would always say "Salam alaikum" to me, which means peace be upon you. So, and I'm like, oh, I love how at that moment, even though they couldn't see my face, and I looked exactly like how the news portrayed Muslims to be, like how we are oppressed and stuff like that. And it's so opposite to see a person how I was dressed as, and that I was pursuing education, and that I was working, and I'm in the community. So it just, I wish people got to know people like me instead of just accepting what the news says and just starts going off. Wait a minute. So you can be a better ally by, if you have like a higher position, let's say, don't profile our names, then your people around that area or the people you're working with won't have any person to look at when you can like for the story I shared, I don't want to report that teacher, but like in the community, if a person like me shares a story like that, I think there should be a better option of like how to report that person so that they are not turned off on their education. Like if I took that teacher's demeaning message, then I wouldn't have been where I am. Like, thank God I'm stronger than I am right now than others. So in that moment, I met the teacher in the hallway. But if I said that in the class and she said the exact same thing, I think I would say the students should have, I mean, they could talk to the teacher and not be afraid, because I know how college is. When the teacher asks a question, we're all like shy of the truth, or we're shy to speak out. But I feel like in that instance, if it happened in class, please speak up. And another thing, when a person like me is picked on in class to answer for everyone, like even if I wasn't raising my hand, then as a student or as just speak up to the teacher and say, okay, she didn't have to answer that, because I was put into that situation. I felt like I had to answer to every question that was based on Muslims or just Blacks. Yeah. Welcome. Any questions? You're welcome.
Thank you, Anissa.
Go.
All right, Lillian Aguilar Garcia is the SLCC Brew and Pantry Schedule and Operations Specialist, civically engaged scholar, and AmeriCorps member. She is a Mexican graphic designer and mixed media artist whose focus is on social issues. They recently moved to SLC from Los Angeles. This is her first semester at SLC, now pursuing a career as a social worker. They want to grow with her community and be a supportive member for people, especially during and after COVID-19. The civic pathway they will be sharing about is educational inequities. Lillian.
Oh, can you hear me now? Excellent. Sorry. Yeah, it was muted. I'm so sorry. Hi, everyone. My name is Lilian. As Ray mentioned before, I am from Mexico. I have around 5 years in the United States. I was a graphic, well, I am a graphic designer. And as he mentioned before, I was living in LA for that period of time. I actually just moved to Salt Lake City. And I was pretty much wearing many hats because for some time I struggled to fit. I struggled to find a job. I struggled to, even though I was prepared sometimes, yes, but like maybe my college degree was not, sorry. But my college degree was not necessarily, they couldn't take it, right? So as I mentioned, I tried to find new ways of work, how to work with my creativity, how to do graphic design. So I was working in the film industry. And that's how pretty much I started doing mixed media art, where I was mostly focused on social issues because I grow up with that. I grow up experiencing domestic violence without knowing about it, which is why this new path of my life have taken me to realize now I want to be part of other people's journey in their healing, in their like supporting them, because I know what it feels like. I know that there are certain experiences in life that can bring some shame, can bring a different perspective of who you are when that is not the thing, the situation, right? So yeah, I started developing that type of projects, trying to like empower people, trying to also like in a way as a healing process for myself. And then the pandemic hit, and as I mentioned, I was working in the film industry and everything just stopped. So I didn't have a job, and my partner and I decided to move to Salt Lake City for a better lifestyle and new opportunities. And again, I struggle again to find jobs because I didn't have a specific experience. And I was like, well, I can get the experience, you know, if you allow me to get the experience. And I didn't found that echo. So I was like, you know, okay, I will enroll in the school. I want to start this new journey. I want to work with my passion at like while connecting with people. I want to be part of that solution. And that's how I enroll in Slick. I learn about it, and I heard like great things about the school. And I was like, okay, let's check it out. And I didn't know anyone, so my way to find out like how to get related to people, how to know what are the needs of this community, how can I connect to other people who are like-minded, who have the same values, who have the same vision. So I started volunteering at on the Slick Serve Day, which is every month. You should totally try it. It's very cool. Each month they have different activities. So that's how I went, and it was very interesting because on the first day that I went to volunteer, it was something related to domestic violence, like support. And I was like, yes, I am supposed to be here. Like, I just took it as I forgot the word, sorry. And that's how I started asking around, okay, how can I be part of this? How can I support? How can I how can I help? And one thing took me to another. And now I'm very grateful because I get to work also with the school and the food pantry. I am learning about food justice. I'm learning about how to support my community, getting to connect with my community, be a better resource, of course. So each month, Slick have different activities planned, right? So for example, that first month, that was at least for me, it can be several activities with different nonprofits, or maybe they have already things planned, right? So it can be maybe something related to the gardening, or maybe something in October, it was with our dogs. Dog arts. I forgot their name, I'm sorry. And it was very cool. It was helping how to sort out all the materials that they use to give classes to kids. So it was very, very interesting to learn how they work, to learn what is their process. And it was just very, very cool, because it's a way to connect with other organizations within the community that are also focused on this, on how to improve the quality of life of people within our community. Oh no, I'm sorry. So I don't know if anyone have another question. If yeah, I don't know if anyone has a question. Oh, give me 1 second. Okay. So to me, it was very surprising, to be honest. When I arrived to Salt Lake City, I literally just knew a couple of people. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Oh, actually, that is one of my paintings. It's actually a lamp, but yeah, I don't want to stand up. But yeah, let me go first to the other question. So it was very, very surprising for me when I arrived to Slick, because LA is great. LA is very cool in many ways, but the community was something that I really, really wanted to have. I really want to be part, and it was very hard. It was also, there's a lot of people, and here I was just very surprised about how many resources, how accessible, even within the school, just as a student, I am so impressed that in a matter of time, just by asking, hey, I have this interest, or how can I be part of something, I was very easily like related to the department of the brewing pantry, so I can learn more about, oh, there is this opportunity, oh, there is this other way. So it is, I am just blown away by the quality of the community, by like how people are so united in order to like support each other, you know, because I feel that is like the main, it is very important. It is very important to have that connection, to have that empathy, that relationship with each other, instead of being, especially right now, like I know that right now we are in a very stressful time, and sometimes, and especially because some people have lost their jobs, sometimes they don't necessarily have enough resources to have groceries. And the fact that the school can provide a service for students or staff who might need it to be more, less stressed, to be focused in their school, in their job, and less stress about like other things, is to me fantastic, you know, because that tells me about unity. So, which is why like I am just very, very grateful that I end up in like the perfect time, in the perfect place, when I was just starting this journey. I don't know if anyone has any other question. Thank you. Yeah, so it was very intimidating at first, because it was like a totally different path in my career. And oh, give me 1 second. But if you already have, as Maria mentioned before, if you already have a passion to work on something, that will just become natural. And I don't know, it's been great, honestly. So far, so good. I don't know if anyone have any other question. Anyone? Okay, when I graduate and move on, what are the biggest lessons you will take with you? Ooh, that is a very good question. So I am planning to find the ways to, well, yeah, with the lessons. Okay. I think is how to work in teams, how to how to work in teams, how to get to know the organizations that are around you, how to have a good relationship with every part of your community, because it's like a machine, right? A community, I see it as a machine. Everything needs to be in function in order to be a healthy society. So I want to replicate that, how to have a better understanding, how to be more inclusive in the same way that Slake has been with me, how to be patient, how to like learn how to talk to people. It's just very, very important. In the future, I would like to find the ways to bring that knowledge to Latin America, especially in Mexico. I would like to find ways of how I can maybe fusion art and fusion social work, how I can bring those experiences for people to empower them, to not get stuck in that box that sometimes all these stigmas and like divisions make them be or fit in. They are not that. We are not that. And I feel that the more that institutions, especially for example like SLIC, are more inclusive. Oh, I didn't saw the question. Of course, yeah, I can share it. It's www.liliagar.com. So you're totally welcome to check out my art. I will be fascinated. So yeah, I would like to find a way of how to bring that awareness, how to bring that inclusivity, how to support people in my own community. Any other question, people?
Thanks, Lilian. Yeah, anybody have any last minute questions for her? No? Well, I know I'm going to go check out your art later today. Great. I'm going to bring back Anissa. There was a question for her. But thank you. Oh, say the website again.
Oh, okay. So the website is www.liliagar, LILLYAGAR.com. I'm getting better at this in English. At first,
know, right? You're like,
so
what?
hard. Yeah, no, I swear. There you go. Thank you so much. Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
Yep,
Thank you.
Yep. Cool. Well, thank you so much. So is Anissa ready? So there's a question for her. Thank you. Welcome back. And let's wait for the question to pop back up. So can you share a bit about your experience as a Black person living in Utah?
I don't want to say the race or or the background of the people I'm mentioning right now. It's actually really hard being a Muslim, a Black, and a female. I've always been put into a position where I need to answer for others. But I love when people are open to learning and not like blocking out from others explaining things to them. I had two incidents I'm going to discuss. There was one where as a after school program staff, I had this little kid that told me, he said he didn't want to work with this other kid. And I was like, why not? He said, it's because my grandma told me to not be next to this kid because he's Black. And I'm like, what? Hey, do you know I'm Black too? And he was like, you are? But he's like, you don't have the same color as him though. I'm like, yes, I'm from Africa. I'm a Somali and I am Black. And then I told him, you don't have to be afraid of the other person. Look at us. Are you scared of me? And he's like, no. And I was like, then be acceptance to this other kid too. He's your friend. You've been with him for a while. Sometimes adults could be mean and, your grandma is not at this moment. So he's like other human being and he's your friend, just like the other kids. And I was glad I was there at that moment. And but the kid never came. I mean, he stayed but moved away. But I was glad I taught him. I hope I taught him a life lesson. And another incident was I was glad I was around this one. It was in a store, and the person, the owner was actually the same background. He was a Muslim, and there was a lot of I think there were kids on a field trip. They were with their teacher, but the teacher didn't come in, so they were all around that outside. And then I overheard like the store owner say, "I don't want them in. They steal and stuff like that." And I was shocked. I went outside and told the kids, "Hey, I hope you guys are aware of your surroundings. And can you tell me what's happening? Why are you guys not going inside? Why are you stranded outside?" They told me the store owner didn't want them in. And I was like, I hope, I don't know, you are all of your students, so the store owner won't see you, what's happening. So can you have your teacher come with you one by one? And I called on the teacher and I said, can you please be with your students because the guy's not letting them in. And then that's how they went in was it 2 or 3 students at once. So the teacher was a Caucasian and he did not understand anything, but I wish he was more involved in that situation. And I wish I went back inside and told the store owner to not be, what you were doing was racist. So as a Black person and a Muslim person, a Muslim is more seen because I'm wearing a jilbab, and they see me as Arab or from Middle Eastern, but then I have to explain I'm a Black person too. So I was glad I was there at both situations, but I wish the world was much nicer to us. Any other questions?
Thank you, Anita, for answering that last question. But we'll go into our final presenter tonight, who is Emily Huang. She is the Feed You Pantry Director, and the Feed You Pantry is a student-run pantry at the University of Utah. And the civic pathway that we're talking about today is economic inequities. And Emily became involved with the pantry last year as the associate director. And Emily's own words, she says, "It's been an honor helping out our own campus community, especially during the times like COVID." And she also enjoys spending time outdoors and climbing in her spare time. So I'll hand it over to Emily.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Anahi, for the introduction. As previously said, I was previously involved with the Fiji Pantry during my junior year, and that's really when I really got to understand food insecurity in higher education in a campus setting, but economic inequality was something that I also experienced previously. Just growing up, I mostly grew up in a single parent household. It was mainly just my father and my younger brother. And my dad was mainly I guess, the person who's bringing in all the money and the main supporter for me and my brother. So I do remember there was junior year of my high school where he actually had a period of brief unemployment. It was a very tough time for us just because as sort of like an Asian culture is that the main goal of the Asian parents is to really provide for their kids, make sure that their future is very taken care of. And during that time, it was my first time experiencing kind of like economic uncertainty, just because my dad was mainly the one that's providing for us. And, you know, he's obviously undergoing a lot of strain. And it was really difficult for me to understand that as a child because he wasn't really forthright with it. And a lot of times I think that like he would undergo a lot of stress thinking about, you know, how to pay for utility bills, how to make sure that me and my brother could still be part of, be enrolled in schools and still engage in the extracurriculars that we're still engaged in. And this is when I first had my experience of food insecurity, partly because I was always constantly worried about you know, not eating too much, making sure that I wasn't a burden to my father. You know, sometimes I would skip some meals, you know, just because food was running low in our fridge and I didn't want my dad to have to make another run to the grocery store when I know that, you know, our food supplies are running low this month. And this is really when I really got to understand that food insecurity isn't just a one-dimensional problem. A lot of times, people experiencing food insecurity can also experience other aspects, such as economic insecurity. They might not have a place to live. They may not feel safe. And these are all a conglomeration of issues that could kind of go hand in hand together. And it's very important to kind of acknowledge that, especially if you're working in just a specific area, such as food insecurity. And while volunteering in high school, not in high school, but in college, I had the opportunity to volunteer with Connect to Health. And that is an organization where I was able to work with mainly the homeless population at 4th Street Clinic. And a lot of the times I also encountered a lot of the patients who are also experiencing food insecurity in addition to not perhaps having insurance or not having access to basic housing and things like that. And that is when it really solidified for me. For me personally, I remember a single instance where I was interacting with a patient at 4th Street Clinic, and it was a diabetic patient who didn't have health insurance, and he didn't have access to a primary care provider who could consistently oversee his care. So because he wasn't able to have a primary care provider, he also wasn't able to access prescriptions. He wasn't able to have the basic knowledge on how to care for his disease just so he can live a healthy life. And that really struck a chord with me because growing up, I was very close with my grandfather, and my grandfather was also diagnosed with diabetes. And I saw firsthand how the impact diabetes can really have on a person's life. And seeing how someone who might not be in a position where they can afford medication or have consistent access to a healthcare provider, it could really put them at a disadvantage, and it could really affect their health outcome. So that's when I really started becoming more involved with food insecurity in the realm of with the homeless population. I worked at the Bennion Center, where I would give bi-weekly presentations about how to get access to food, access to healthy food, and ways to improve healthy living practices, just to help with health promotions within the homeless population, because I realized through working with them that although a lot of them do not have access to healthy foods, although it's very nice that they have access to very nutrient, a lot of, how would I say this? They have access to a lot of foods through food pantries and things like that. Oftentimes, they don't have a lot of access to fresh veggies. They don't have access to a kitchen where they can cook fresh meals every day. So a lot of times they resort to fast food because, as a lot of us know, fast food is a lot cheaper than, buying fresh produce or organic foods. So what I did a lot of the time during the presentations is that I would just educate them on ways and how they can eat healthier with the options that they already have. So perhaps, instead of getting a canned fruit with a lot of syrup in it, just getting canned food with water. Or perhaps, when they're going to McDonald's, instead of opting for a Big Mac, they could choose for a salad. So just for a healthier alternative given what they already have. And I think that has really allowed me to have a more in-depth understanding of food insecurity in a different population than I was working with previously. And that kind of translated into Fiji Pantry on campus, because as I was becoming more involved with the realm of food insecurity during the beginning of my college career, I wasn't really aware that we had a food pantry already on campus. And it wasn't until my junior year when I heard about the Fiji Pantry that I initially gained a lot of interest in this. I really wanted to address this issue within a more local community too. And for me, that's the university campus. And just to kind of give everyone a perspective, when I first joined, I heard a very shocking statistics that has really stuck with me, and I would love to kind of share it with you all. During spring of 2019, we did a survey about food insecurity, and we came up with this shocking statistic that about 30% of the students at the U have actually struggled with food insecurity. So when we apply that percentage to the number of students that's currently enrolled, it's almost comes to about 10,000 students have experienced food insecurity at one point of their life during their college career. And that's very shocking to me because, it's food insecurity is almost a stigmatized topic that a lot of people don't talk about, especially during higher education. And I think that it is something that we need to have more discourse about, just because recognizing that students shouldn't be put in a position where they would have to decide whether they should spend money on pursuing their next degree versus, spending money on the basic needs such as food or finding shelter for the night. And I think that the role Fiji Pantry does is that it can provide that sort of safe haven for people who are facing these financial uncertainty currently while they're pursuing higher education. And with food insecurity, especially volunteering through the Fiji Pantry, I began as a volunteer. And I've gotten the opportunity to, meet and talk with a lot of the clients who come in. And that's when I really found out through them that, food insecurity, a lot of the students who visit us, they have families that they have to think about, sometimes they visit the pantry not because they cannot afford food, but they might not have access to healthy food. Just because the Fiji Pantry recently has began partnerships with our local gardening programs. So we have been able to provide a lot of healthier, fresh produce, healthier options to people. So sometimes, our clients come in because they want to have a healthier options for them, or sometimes they might not have, a kitchen for them to use. So they come in and grab a simple cup of ramen for them to have food on the go. So kind of like I said, food insecurity is a very complex issue. There's a lot of different dimensions of why someone would want to utilize the Fiji Pantry. And that's something I really got to understand while volunteering and in my role as a director of the pantry. And I think that during the coronavirus pandemic that's occurring, that has even illuminated the role the Fiji Pantry really plays on campus, just because there is an increased prevalence of food insecurity since a lot of the student workers who were previously employed on campus, they have their hours reduced or they're no longer working. And a lot of the staff and faculty who do visit us also have a lot of other stressors going on in their life. Their spouses might not be working anymore, or their children might be home and they might not be able to, afford for food for their children who might usually be on school lunches and things like that. Since the coronavirus, our pantry has actually seen an increase in client usage and also an increase in the amount of food that we have distributed ever since the pandemic. And it has been very rewarding to see how, while people have been willing to give back, a lot of, especially during the beginning of the pandemic, there was a lot of things that were very unknown. We weren't really sure about, how this disease was transmitted and how severe it was going to be. But despite that, we have a very strong team of volunteers who was very adamant about still wanting to contribute back to the pantry and helping out wherever they can. So despite some volunteers not being able to volunteer in person, other volunteers really tried to step up and fill up for those extra shifts. And through talking to them, a lot of these volunteers had similar experiences where they have experienced food insecurity in one part of their life. Maybe that is in college or maybe that's earlier on. And they kind of understand the importance of keeping the Fiji Pantry open, especially during such a pivotal time when people are in greater need of food. And it's really rewarding to see that people are willing to give back to our local community, people who have similar experiences, despite everything that's going on with the safety concerns of coronavirus, that they are willing to keep our pantry open. And because of that, our pantry has been open since the coronavirus, 8 to 5 every day, even during the summer months. So it's super rewarding to see how everyone was able to kind of step together in this time of need and during the pandemic. So, oh, Jasmine. Yes, I think you bring up a really great question about how the current food system plays into food insecurity. I think that part of what I had a lot of experience with is that with food insecurity, recognizing that, not just having food, but also having access to nutritious and fresh foods. And currently our food system is rigged in a way that healthier foods, organic foods, things that, would yield more health benefits are usually more expensive. So, if you go into Whole Foods, the produce you buy would be definitely a lot more expensive than if you go to McDonald's, something like a burger, that's about $1. And I think that is something that really contributes to the issue of food insecurity, because a lot of a lot of these clients who visit the pantry, it's not that they don't have access to simple foods, they don't have access to nutritious foods. And, you know, having cheaper alternatives that might not be very nutritious could really play into this role of food insecurity. To kind of address Heather's question, definitely there is a stigma with food insecurity. And I think that with everything that's going on, especially for what Fiji Pantry we've been trying to do, is that we've been trying to reduce the food insecurity stigma on campus. And, you know, raising awareness that they're it's a multi-dimensional issue, you know. People who visit the pantry isn't always going to be it shouldn't be a source of shame. You know, everyone needs help at some point. Going back to statistics I shared with you guys, about 30% of the university students have experienced food security at some point of life. So I think it's very important to spread that awareness that they are not alone. Sometimes, you know, experiencing these issues could be very lonely. You might feel like you're in this alone. There's no one else who's experiencing this. It's something that you're ashamed of. And that's something I felt myself back in high school when I was going through this period of economic instability, especially with going on with my father. I felt almost embarrassed that I had to, you know, I was food insecure. I had to skip meals, you know, going out with my friends. I couldn't really buy what my friends were buying and things like that. So I think that by helping spreading awareness that, you know, you're not alone, that there's a lot of people who have experienced this, and letting them know that we are a friendly resource, that, you know, anyone can come visit us. It doesn't mean that, you know, you don't have to be like severely food insecure to visit us. If you are just in need of food on the go, you can always just come. And I think that by spreading that message on campus and to the general community, that will help reduce the food stigma significantly. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Emily. If anybody has any more questions for Emily. No, cool. Thank you, Emily. It's me and Ray. We're just going to say thank you again for all of our presenters today. I can review a few people. So we had Maria Hernandez, Emily Huang, who just spoke, as well as Alejandro Sanchez. And then I'll let Ray review the other ones.
We had Austin Fashion Par, and Anissa Ali. Did we miss any? And Lillian, yes.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay. If you still want to comment, please do. We'd love to get more questions and comments. What did you think? How did you feel? What stood out? We'd love to know. What did we think?
Do you want to go first, Ray?
This has been a great experience. There's, a lot of behind the scenes work went in, and I only got to hear a little bit of it, but I'm glad that everyone was able to participate. The questions that were asked were amazing, and the presenters did a wonderful job.
Great. And then for me, I thought this was amazing. I really loved hearing everyone's stories. I thought it was a very powerful moment to give that space and allow for folks to be able to share, and for us to be able to listen and sort of take that space together, even if it's virtually. And then I'm really excited to have folks come back tomorrow, and we can see what more we can learn from listening to other folks' story and leading out to action. So I'm pretty excited.
All right. And We're going to put you on mute for a second. There we go. This is Ben. Ben is going to kind of close out the conference for us tonight. He's going to let us know what the schedule is tomorrow, what you need to do to register if you haven't already. Please take a moment to look over the website and continue commenting on this video and asking questions. And good night.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. We just exit out. Sorry. Hi, everyone. Like I said, my name is Ben. I'm a student at the U. I'm the events coordinator at the Bennion Center. First off, I'd just like to thank everybody for coming out to the conference. I'd like to thank all of the presenters for the awesome things that they've shared, and also everybody who's been participating throughout the show. It's been awesome to see everybody's comments and everybody's questions. We would like to first invite everybody, if you haven't already, to please go to the website and register for tomorrow's conference. There's a link in your email. You can go in and you can register for tomorrow's conference. We'd also like to quickly go over everybody who will be speaking. So in the first session, keep in mind that there's 3 sessions and each session is split into 2 parts, and you can register for either part. So the first session will be on essential services and basic needs. That will be done by Janita Emerson. She's the CEO of the 4th Street Clinic, and she'll be giving her thoughts about that. This also, in the first session, you can register also for systematic racism. That will be done by Jason M. Groth. He's a smart justice attorney from the American Civil Liberty Union. So great opportunities there. The second session will be at 11 a.m. The first block, the subject is economic inequalities. It will be done by Kate Idzorek, the program manager of Spice Kitchen. And then the other session is educational inequities, which will be done by Amy Terperstra. And she's the Vice President of Collective Impact Partnerships of United Way of Salt Lake. Then the third block at 12 p.m., the first session will be Environmental and Migrant Justice, which will be done by Mariela Mendoza, the co-director of Grassroots Action and Media Coordinator of Uplift Climate. And then the other session will be, the subject will be Electoral Justice by Hope Ziding-Gorges, and she is the Executive Director of Voterize. So again, please just go onto the website, register for those. Make sure you're there by 9 a.m. sharp, because we will be starting on time. And we should be closing by about 1 p.m. After the sessions, we'll have a quick closing. And in that closing, we'll ask a few questions, get everybody's comments. And then we also want everybody to fill out a survey just to let us know what you thought about the conference and to be able to gather your feedback. Everything like that. So again, thank you everybody for participating. I think it's been a great conference. It's been easy to see how complex our problems of the world are. And I think that we're all better people for taking the time to learn about these issues and taking the time to really try to understand better. And I think that as a team, from all of our different activities, that we really can come together and create something great and really make an impact on the problems that we're facing today. So thank you, everyone. Hope to see you tomorrow.
Hi, everyone. Just to answer Jasmine's question, it is all online, and you can find it at the website. Yeah, that's on the website, and it should have been in the email that was sent out to all the attendees. And if you have any issues with that, someone in the comments can add the link to the website so you can find the registration links on there.